Hi guys, happy September and welcome back to my channel. It's currently September 2nd when I'm filming this. I thought I would do my August reading recap slash book review. This is my first video about books, but I have been so into reading recently. I've always liked reading, but this past year I've been reading nonstop, like obsessed. And I thought I would start making some content on it because I love reading and I love making content. So why not combine the two things? I only read 4 books this month, and one of them was like I started in July and then it carried over to August, so I'm counting it. I know that's not a lot of books for some people in a month, but I'm not that fast of a reader and I work, so I can only read after work. So let's just get started. It was a great reading month for me. All of my books were 5 stars. I might bump one of them down to like 4.3, 4.5, but yeah, really good reading month for me. And I think that's why I like powered through, because 2 of them are pretty long, so I like powered through them. The first book I read, I started it in July and then it carried over to the first couple days in August, so I'm just counting it because I want to talk about it. Funny Story by Emily Henry. If you know me, you know I love Emily Henry. She is what got me into reading. If you know that trend that's like, it wouldn't be this if it had been you, and it was like everyone's starting It Ends With Us. For me, it was People We Meet on Vacation. That book like sparked my reading for me. I have read every single book of Emily Henry. I love her so much. I find myself relating to all her female characters in some way, even though they're all pretty different. I just feel so connected to them all the time, and she knows how to write men. This is her newest book and it did not disappoint. It's a romance book, obviously. I want to say it's like forced proximity, opposites attract type of book. Our main female character's name is Daphne and she is a librarian, and in the start of it she's in kind of like her own picture perfect romance with her fiance named Peter. He kind of has this like picture perfect family, like all American, lots of siblings, a crafty mom type of thing. When they get engaged or a little bit after, I kind of forget, he moves her to his hometown where his whole family lives in Wading Bay, Michigan. It's a small lakeside town and she is so excited to have this life, but he ends up leaving Daphne for his childhood best friend Petra, kind of like the girl he said she never had to worry about type of vibe, and obviously ends their engagement. So she has to move out in a town where she knows nobody, and she ends up moving in to an apartment with Miles, who is Petra's now ex-boyfriend. I found myself really relating to her standing on like friendships and relationships, and I don't know, I just found myself like really connected to her. And Miles has seemed to be kind of like chaotic. He has a bunch of different odd jobs that he works, not like a set career, or at least that's how Peter has made him seem when he tells Daphne about him, if that makes sense. And they end up forming a friendship while they're both healing from their respective relationships, and it's a really beautiful story. You know, you kind of learn about other side characters too, and how Daphne is making it in Wading Bay, Michigan. There's this deadline throughout the whole book, and it's kind of interesting to see how all the characters impact that, and I really liked it. And Miles is quite literally one of the best book boyfriends, and I did cry. I rated this 5 stars. I really liked it. It was definitely one of my favorite Emily Henry books, which all Emily Henry books are like kind of in the top tier of my reading. It was a great start to the month. The next book that I read is something different than I normally would read, but I'm so glad that I did. I read ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm not a fantasy reader. I tried to read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is fantasy, I think I would say, and I couldn't get through it. But I was obsessed with this book. My friend Jokera had been telling me to read it. My cousins have been telling me to read it, and I was just like, I couldn't do it. And I think maybe I liked this one because it was like romantic-y, like it did have a lot of romance in it, so it was a good like ease into fantasy. This book sparked something in me. The whole ACOTAR series has 2 main settings: the human realm, mortal realm, and Prythian, which is where the Fae live. This book is about 19-year-old Feyre. I've seen it pronounced different. I thought it was Fair, and then I saw on TikTok that it was Feyre, so we're gonna say Feyre. It's about a 19-year-old mortal girl named Feyre. Her family lost all their fortunes. Her mom died, so they're kind of living in this rundown cabin, and she is forced to go out and hunt for food because her 2 sisters just refuse to do it, and her dad, like, his knee's broken or something, so he can't. She ends up killing a wolf that I believe is a Fae, or just like part of the Fae world. I kind of forget. A long time ago there was a war between the Faes and the mortals, and there's kind of a contract where like they just don't bother each other, and if like a mortal hurts a Fae, there's consequences, and I think vice versa. And because she killed this wolf, a Fae comes to her cabin, and in the treaty it said that, you know, a life for a life. but this fae ends up being like, instead of killing you, you can come live with me in Prythian. So he takes her to Prythian, more specifically the Spring Court, and this fae who had kidnapped her happens to be the High Lord of the Spring Court, Tamlin. You spend this whole book, it's very like world building in the beginning. You learn about Prythian, all the different courts, all the different faes and different creatures, the good, the bad of this world. And you see Feyre kind of build connections within the Spring Court and then kind of learn the ins and outs of what she can and cannot do, the kind of deal of her agreement of living there basically. And I don't want to spoil anything, so that's the synopsis I'm gonna give. As I've said, I've never really read fantasy before, and I rated this one a 5 out of 5, but now having read the second book in the series, I do want to bump this down to like a 4.3, 4.5. It was still really, really good, but the next book was better. I literally would not stop talking about this book, and I have made this whole series my entire personality the last month or two. So, and people said this is like the worst one in the series, so that just made me even more excited to read the rest of the series. The third book I read in August was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This book, oh my god, amazing. Like, this book has my heart. I read this one so quick just because I could not put it down, and I was staring at a blank wall at the end of it. This is the first book I've ever read by Abby Jimenez, and I really like her writing style. It's a romance book, obviously, and it's dual point of views, which I really like. I know some people don't really like that type of writing style, but at least in this book, I really liked it. The main character is Justin, and he is kind of going viral for a Reddit thread that he posted. He posted a thread about this curse that he thinks he has, that every time he dates someone, when they break up, they meet their soulmate. And then we meet our female main character. Her name is Emma, and she is a travel nurse. She's had a very rough childhood. Her mom would leave her for like weeks at a time, for just long stretches of time. She would be by herself, kind of had to fend for herself. Her friend Maddie, I think that's her name. Yes, Maddie. Her friend Maddie's family ended up taking her in as a foster child, but Maddie ended up kind of just being her found family. She reads Justin's Reddit thread and she relates to it because she thinks the same thing happens to her, that she has the same curse. So she responds to him and says like, hey, this happens to me too. And they just start talking, and they keep direct messaging, and then they kind of come up with a plan. They live in different states, and they just were messaging online, and they come up with a plan to date each other. The curse will cancel each other out, and they'll find their soulmates once they break up. Once Emma and Maddie are in Minnesota, Emma meets Justin, and they start this relationship to get it going. And we also learn about Justin's family life as well. He is going through a big family change, and with Emma's kind of rough upbringing, it's interesting to see kind of how having those two in their like characters' personalities, how that builds off each other and kind of they interact with each other in that way. Throughout this whole book, seeing their relationship grow and kind of Emma's attachment styles in a way, and just how she learns to lean on people and work through her traumas is really beautiful, and I really liked that. I feel like it went deeper on a lot of things than some other romance books do, and I really liked that. I really loved this book, and I loved Abby Jimenez's writing. I definitely need to go pick up her other books. I think this is a trilogy, and this is like the last one in the trilogy, but you don't need to read the other two to read this. With her writing, I just found myself smiling throughout the whole thing, and I rated this a 5 stars, of course, because it was so good. I will recommend this book to quite literally anyone. My last August read is quite literally the best book I think I've read so far in my life. A Court of Mist and Fury. Oh my god. This book is why I rated ACOTAR lower. It's in the same world as ACOTAR. Obviously, the whole series is in the same world. There are spoilers for this, for the ending of the first book, so don't watch this if you have not read the first book. But this book starts with Feyre has now come back as a High Fae. She has all the powers of either. Can I speak? She has all the powers of all the High Lords, like, put into her. So she's a High Fae now. And she's back at the Spring Court with Tamlin, having escaped from under the mountain. Tamlin and Feyre are now engaged, and their wedding is approaching, so the book kind of starts with the planning and everything, which Feyre is not very happy about. She's kind of struggling with everything she went through under the mountain and like how to cope with it. She's been having nightmares, you know, she has trauma. And Tamlin kind of just ignores it because he's a man. He's also going through his own traumas, but he refuses to acknowledge his and kind of ignores her when she has hers. And his reaction to her now being High Fae is kind of not the best either. Without spoiling anything, he kind of treats her in a way that he thinks is protecting her, and you know, he's doing what he believes is best for her to keep her safe and to not put her in any more danger after everything she had already gone through. He does not want to lose her again. And we also meet Rhys. Rhysand? I say Rhys or Rice. I don't know. It kind of comes out both ways when I'm reading it. Anyways, we meet him again. He's the High Lord of the Night Court, and as you guys know in the first book, he made a bargain with Feyre to save her life. The bargain starts and she has to go to the Night Court. You learn more about the Night Court and Velaris, and we see the relationships that Feyre develops in the Night Court and the Spring Court. I don't want to spoil anything because I did talk about the first book in this, but this book is so good. Oh my god. I was thinking about this for days after I finished it. Like, I could not stop thinking about this book, and I could not stop thinking about Rhys, Rice. This book was a 5 out of 5 for me. I would have rated it a 6 out of 5 if I could. Those are all the books that I read in August. Let me know if you liked this type of video. I definitely want to start making more book content. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what you guys read in August, and leave me some book recommendations down below because I'm always down to try new things, try new books. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.